Hi guys and welcome back. In this video we're going to talk about mutable default parameters. This is something that you really need to know about in Python because if you make this mistake, it's going to cost you a lot of time trying to find out what the problem is. So let's get started. Here we've got a student class, and in the init method we have two parameters, the name, which is a string, and the grades, which is a list of integers, but it has a default value of empty list. So by the way, this is how you type hint when you have both a type hint and a default value. I'm not sure we've looked at that before, but nonetheless, that is how it goes. So you've got your grades. You can pass in a list of grades if you want when you create the object, or you can use the default, which is an empty list. Then you set that, and when you take an exam, you pass in a result, such as an integer. We're going to put that in there, actually. And then it appends to self.grades. This is bad. I've put a comment in there so you don't do this. Never make a parameter equal to a mutable value by default. Here's why. You created your student Bob, and you used the default grades. Then you made him take an exam, which appends 90 to self.grades, and finally you print Bob's grades. So let's save that and run it, and you see you get 90 out. So yeah, no problem. But then what if you create one more student, such as Rolf, and you don't make him take any exams? What are we going to see now? Well, let me run this code. And voila. Both students have 90, even though only Bob took an exam. So this is why mutability is so important in Python and why this is a bad idea. The function parameters, these default ones, evaluate when the function is defined, not when the function is called. So when the class is created, this function is evaluated so that Python knows what the parameters are and what the name is and so on, and this one too. And there, this default value is created. That means that if you use the default, self.grades is a name for this specific list. And when you create two students, self.grades in both of them are names to the same list. This one that was created when the function was created, not when the function was called. So as long as you're using the default parameter for all your students, they will share grades. That's probably not what you want. However, do note that if you pass in your own lists here, then these will be different because now Bob is using this list and Rolf is using this one. If you then define a third one that uses this one, those two will share grades, but this one will be unaffected because that's using his own list. So avoid this problem by not using mutable default values for parameters. Instead, what you can do is you can make it equal to none, and then you can make this equal to grades or empty list. And what happens here is that if this is none, then none or empty list will evaluate to empty list. Now, instead of list of integers, you may want to do import optional as well and make this an optional list of integers. That's just a slightly better way of handling this here. So Python knows that it is optional and it may not be a list initially, it may be none initially, but you're going to set it to a list later on. So this is a better way of handling that type hint as well. So now this will work the way we intended to. By pressing play, you see that Bob has 90 and Rolf has nothing. This is very important. My word of advice is to not use default parameter values that are mutable. Just stick to immutable ones like integers, strings, floats, booleans, tuples, things like that. And if not, use this pattern here to define them inside the function and not in the parameter list. Thank you for joining me in this video. I hope it's been useful, and I'll see you in the next one.